It is now my honor and privilege to introduce Senator Kay Bailey Hutchison. Senator Hutchison was sworn in as Ambassador of the United States to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization in 2017. She gained extensive international experience and developed a deep understanding of NATO as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. She also served as chairman of the Military Construction Subcommittee and as a member of the Defense Subcommittee on the Senate Appropriations Committee. She served 2 terms as chairman of the Board of Visitors of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. For her career in public service, she served as a U.S. Senator from Texas and was also elected to a Senate leadership position. Senator Hutchison served in the Texas House of Representatives as a Texas State Treasurer and as Vice Chairman of the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board. She was a prominent attorney with Bracewell and is a proud graduate of the University of Texas School of Law.
Yep, so thank you so much for being here. As Lyle mentioned in your intro, you have a notable career, but to kick us off, could you tell us about your undergraduate experience and what led you to law school?
I first entered undergraduate school and loved my UT experience. My parents had both graduated from UT, and I guess there really wasn't ever a serious consideration of going somewhere else, but I loved it, and I became a Longhorn in spirit, and just loved my time here. I left my undergraduate after 3 years and went straight to law school, and so I skipped my senior year and then went to law school to get my law degree. And I hadn't really focused yet, and I love talking to all of you because I think you all are much more focused than I was as an undergraduate, but I really was not sure what I wanted to do, so I decided to go to law school, and it was a wonderful experience. I loved my law degree. I loved the law school experience because I really enjoyed the studying for the first time, to be honest. And sitting here with an honors graduate, you got to studying before I did. But I loved the studying in law school because it was just so interesting, and there was so much the back and forth, the Socratic method where the professor engages students, and I really enjoyed it. So I loved law school, but law school, women were not even interviewed by the law firms when I was in law school. So I really didn't have options for going into a law firm until literally I had interviewed with everyone in Houston where I decided to go. I had grown up in Galveston County. And so I got a job offer from the city of Houston to be an assistant city attorney. And I decided to try something different. And on a lark, I stopped at the local NBC television affiliate and applied for a job to be a news reporter. And they were so stunned to have a lawyer apply to be a news reporter that they actually hired me. And it was a great eye-opening experience. So I used my law degree. I'm really getting to the point that you can use your law degree for so many things besides just practicing law. And I think that's true in the business school as well. You get that business degree, and then you can go into so many other facets of your future and get a law degree. And you don't have to be a practicing lawyer, but certainly it helped me when I went into the legislature and then later the Senate. And so getting the education that you all are getting right now, just make the most of it and look for all the options that are available that may not be right in the lane that you're looking at, but here you are looking at energy. Maybe you never thought about going into energy, but now energy's not just oil and gas, it's a lot of oil and gas, and oil and gas is here for a long time to come, and it's going to be the basic energy for sustainable, reliable energy. But there are so many other energy pursuits now. the renewables, the solar, the wind, of which Texas, by the way, is the leader in both solar and wind energy production and use. And now at the engineering school, we have a researcher that just does hydrogen, and he's doing hydrogen. He sits on the NASA advisory committee with me in Washington because he's looking at hydrogen as a propellant for our rockets that are going to go to the moon and then again eventually to Mars. But it's also a sub area for new energy, clean, completely clean energy is hydrogen. And so we've got all these things that are avenues in energy that are the traditional, but also the new and the innovative. So my message is you're getting a great education, take advantage of all the different opportunities because there's so much out there.
Thank you so much, Senator Hutchison. You've had some fantastic and interesting job opportunities, from TV correspondent to owner of a candy making company, banking executive, among other things. How did that diversity of experiences benefit you, change your worldview, and serve you in your career? And a quick little follow-up is, which was the most fun?
You know, probably news reporter was the most fun, because a news reporter starts and finishes every day. When you're in law or energy or business, it's 24/7. You're either thinking about it, or you're working on it, or you're addressing an issue that's an emergency. And so being a news reporter was really fun. But I will say it also wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't, I didn't want to be interviewing other people who were doing things. I wanted to be the one doing things. And so I loved it, but, and it was a great experience because it gave me an experience of communication and a lot of things I wouldn't have thought about. But I wanted to be making news, not reporting on it. So that variety was really good for me. And I think in your age level, it's so important to explore different things and not just get into a silo. And especially, I'm going to say, engineering students sometimes get into, I mean, it's so comprehensive that you're in a silo of engineering. And I've worked with so many engineers in the legislative process or in business, and I think what you're doing right now, you engineering students, is you're meeting with business students and law students, and you're learning just from osmosis other things besides just the black and white engineering courses, and I think that's helpful. And as a business graduate, here again, from my lessons, I didn't know enough business when I went to law school. But I think law school is now giving more business opportunities, and certainly this energy center and the minor that you can get from the business school that gives you the business side of energy to law students, to engineering students, as well as to business students. It's so important because when I went into the candy manufacturing business, gosh, I wish that I'd had a little more finance and a little more accounting than I had. So I think that the variety of experience is what you should be doing in your 20s. And then always looking for being with other venues is really important for you to have the best perspective when you really hone in on what your final sort of goal is going to be.
Yeah, well, one of the ways in which you went on to make news after your position as a correspondent was in your tenure in government. So from being the first woman elected to represent Texas in the Senate to becoming the fourth ranking member of party leadership, what obstacles did you face as a woman in government, and to what extent do you think those obstacles persist today?
Well, first of all, there were obstacles to being elected. when I was elected to the Texas legislature, I was the only Republican woman in the whole legislature, in the whole House. And there were only 13 Republicans out of 150 then. So it was a very different era. But I really ran for the legislature because the Republican county chairman asked me if I would like to run, because I'd been covering the legislature as a news reporter. That was my law degree that gave me that opportunity. That's why the news director hired me, is he said, I want to cover the legislature more. You're a lawyer, and so I covered the legislature full time. So I knew how it worked, and the TV gave me that experience. But then running was a whole different thing, because there just weren't that many women running, or certainly being elected. You're one of, I think, 6 women in the House. There were 5 Democrats and me when I was elected. But you know, we got along great, and we passed, for instance, we passed legislation that reformed rape victim laws for the whole country, because we gathered together, the Democrats and the Republicans, and we teamed up and went to our colleagues, and almost unanimous votes for this reform that was copied by every state in the nation. So you can do things when you work across the aisle, which I hope people will start learning that a little more now today, because there's a little too much acrimony, I think, in our system. But it was an obstacle to convince voters that a woman could do it. But after that first election, once you're in the legislature, or once you're in the Senate, you have the same vote, you have the same opportunities, and I didn't feel discrimination at all. I didn't feel discrimination when I was running. It was harder, it was a harder lift, but you get over that. You know, you get elected, and then you're going. And I don't, you know, I think it's really important not to ever feel like you're a victim, or, you know, things are going against you. Everybody has setbacks. Every man, every woman has setbacks in some way in a career. You just look for the ways to get beyond that, and to not think you're, just don't complain. Just keep on going, and you'll win. If you just pick yourself up after you've had a setback and keep on going, keep a positive attitude, you're gonna win. You're gonna win in the end. And in fact, frankly, the people who've had setbacks are the strongest people, because they've had to overcome. So you know, being a woman, I was never a woman senator. I was a senator for Texas, and I never talked about it that way. I never wanted it to be that way. And we did some great things for women, but we also just made sure that we were the representatives for our constituents, for everybody that we were representing, which was men and women and children. And so that's the way I look at that.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us those great pieces of advice. Changing gears a little bit, we would love to hear your thoughts on the future of energy. Particularly, what do you think are the biggest obstacles facing the global energy landscape?
The biggest obstacles that I see are that we must have reliable, sustainable energy for the world to have strong economies, strong jobs, strong education. And I think that for America, the biggest obstacle is energy independence. It is understanding the role of reliable, stable energy in our strong economy. And I I think we need to get back to energy independence. And then our next goal should be to make sure that we are able to export our natural gas and oil where possible to our allies, because we see that the adversaries that we are facing and the potential adversaries that we are facing are not going to be reliable sources for economies to trust. So we should be energy independent ourselves for our own security. Energy is today a security issue. And being energy independent means that we have to be able to grow our economy, create more jobs in our economy, adapt to the kinds of new jobs that it's going to take to keep our economy strong. And then we need to make sure that our allies have that capability as well. And I think that having the energy transition to renewable and sustainable, environmentally clean energy should be the long-term goal. That is all of our long-term goal. I think expecting that it's going to be 2 years from now is unrealistic. We've got to work into enough battery storage for both solar and wind to make sure that the system doesn't go down because the wind's not up, or it's a week of cloudy days or it's stormy days. We can't consider that reliable yet. Are we going to do the research to get those stronger, more reliable batteries? Yes, we are. And that's going to be part of that energy transition. But it is so important that we do all of the above. That is what the KVH Center is trying to promote, is we do all of the above. Yes, we want oil and natural gas cleanly produced, and we do it the best. Right now, America is importing oil from Russia, and Germany has reopened coal plants. Now, what is that going to do for the environment? That is not the way we can reach that goal of zero emissions. We need to have the energy that we produce, which is cleaner. Well, certainly Venezuela is not doing it like we are. Saudi Arabia is not doing it like we are. We are the best. So let's get energy sufficiency ourselves so that we are completely secure for our economy not to be affected by low energy sources. Then let's do enough for our allies, and let's focus on that research that can give us that clean energy in the shortest term possible, but realizing that we have to do all of the above to get to that point.
Well, speaking of energy security, did your role as an ambassador to NATO change your perspective on the United States' role in global energy security?
Well, it didn't, because I've always felt that, because America is such an energy producer. And in fact, it was very interesting when I was at NATO that the council, which is the 30 ambassadors, now 31, because Finland just joined, so we have 31 ambassadors. We met when I was there, and the head of the IEA from France, the International Energy Agency, spoke to the council, and he made all of our arguments. He said, in 10 years, America is going to be the largest energy producer in the world. Not Saudi Arabia, not Russia, America, because of fracking and the Permian Basin. And so he said, now what is important is that we have all the energy formed in the cleanest possible way in the other countries that are not doing it as well with the environment in mind. And he had all the statistics, and he was just making my argument. I was just sitting there and watching all of our allies hear this. And so I didn't change my view, but I certainly had it reinforced. And you know, when I was at NATO, we tried so hard to get Germany not to complete the Nord Stream pipeline because we knew that that could be misused by Russia, because they had done it before. They had cut Ukraine off, the Russians had, from the Nord Stream 1 that had gone through Ukraine. They just cut Ukraine off. And so we tried to tell Germany, look, they'll do this to you too. That it's important that we have our resources match each other in the NATO alliance than to have you depending on Russia and then possibly having to deal with a belligerent Russia. Germany just could not get there. And this is an aside, but Germany has been very pacifist since World War II. They don't want to be in any way a leader in defense or in the military. And they're now changing. I mean, I think the Russian invasion has finally made them see that Russia is not different from the past. It is a country that, with Putin as the head, and certainly with the people around Putin, you're not going to have the ability to have good relations with Russia. Putin has, since he was installed, he has wanted to recreate the Soviet Union. He wants the mother Russia to come back, and that is something that NATO is going to stand against. We want countries to decide for themselves how they want to be governed. And the Eastern European allies that were the former Soviet republics are the strongest allies that we have. They are great. They've lived under Russian domination. They know what it's like, and they are our strongest fighters, helping Ukraine right now, but also to protect their democracies and their people from any kind of encroachment from Russia that they see coming if we don't get Ukraine across the line. And it is very, very important for all of us to understand that the Ukraine is not another territorial conflict. It is a conflict that is going to affect the freedom of Europe, our freedom as well, because everything goes into the long term about our way of life, our democracies, our rule of law, our human rights that we protect. That's at stake here. And we've got to help Ukraine repel Russia, or Russia will take the next step. The next step will be Belarus and Moldova, and then it will be NATO countries. There's no question, if he is allowed to do this, that he will keep marching for the mother Russia. And that's why it's so important that we not step back in our interest in and support of Ukraine and their sovereignty.
Thank you so much for your analysis on that very topical issue. I'd like to mine that issue a little further and ask you, what impact do you think Europe's intent and attempt to decrease reliance on Russian natural gas will have on domestic natural gas and oil?
Ours or theirs?
Ours, yes.
Yes, I think that it's very important, and I think finally we are beginning to see an opening in Alaska of the oil production that had been refused earlier in the administration, and now the door has been opened to begin that. The people of Alaska have voted time and again that they want those jobs, they want that production, and it's also environmentally it doesn't even leave a footprint because the roads into the production areas are ice, and they melt, and there's no footprint. So that's a beginning. But what we need to do, and it's not just opening the production, although that's important. We need to open the Gulf of Mexico more, and the East and West Coast more as well. That one's harder because states have rights, territorial rights to waters. But even when a state has territorial waters, they're still blocked because maybe they can't get a pipeline or they can't get a refinery. So if you can't get the oil or gas through a pipeline, then think about the environmental impact of not using a pipeline and instead taking it in trucks across highways or on rail cars through neighborhoods. Is that really a good environmental policy? It isn't. Pipelines are the cleanest, safest way to transport energy. And shutting down the Keystone XL pipeline, which was bringing oil and gas from Canada, our best trading partner, our easiest trading partner, in through the United States and out through Louisiana to export. And when that was shut down, it shut down a pipeline that had been approved by every state that the pipeline went through. Every state and every environmental protection agency within those states. It had been approved. It was ready to finish construction and start all the way from Canada down to Louisiana. And it was just shut down. So we lost jobs, and we lost the environmental protections that a pipeline gives, rather than putting it on trucks, which is what they're doing now, and hauling it through our highways, wearing down our highways, costing highway repairs all the way through. It wasn't thought through by people who are very rightly concerned about environmental issues. They never got the next step. Well, if you don't do it that way, either what they're doing in Canada is they're shipping it around through the ocean, or shipping it into China, or carrying it through trucks. So pipelines, transportation, and then having the refinery capacity, which again, America does in the cleanest way. But what's happened now is the expansion of refineries has been blocked, and therefore, if you can't, we're producing at 100%, but if you can't get it refined and into the end product, then you can't produce more than what you're producing right now. So those are the factors that it takes too long to explain in a 30-second soundbite. So I think we really need an overhaul, which, by the way, the House just passed a House called HB1, which does have a lot of reforms in the permitting processes that would open up more capability to do this with the best environmental results, but getting back to our independence, our energy independence at the same time. Now it's going to the Senate, and I'm sure it will change some, but I hope that it stays alive in the Senate so that it can be negotiated, so that the president might sign parts of it anyway. That would help our production capacity so that we could become independent and ship to our allies.
Well, to wrap up, how has the University of Texas and its community impacted your life and career? And would you say that energy is a specific strength of the UT community?
Yes, I think that we have the unique opportunity in energy. If there is an energy focus on any university in America that's a tier 1 university, where should it be? Of course, the University of Texas. We are the flagship, we are the University of Texas, and we are the energy center of production in America. And so we should have the best. And the reason that the KBH Center has been so active in bringing the students from not only our business school and our law school. And remember, in law school, Texas has a much different oil and gas law regime than any other state. Now, Louisiana has an even ever more different one. And Oklahoma has accommodations. And there will be a few other outlying states that protect mineral rights, but Texas is the leader in that, and most states don't do it. Most states do not protect what's under the land, but Texas does. So law function in this energy minor is very important if you're going to be in the energy business in Texas, because the law side is different. And when you are looking at the law side, which we are doing more and more, and especially the KBH Center has focused on, we want law, we want business, because of course you've got to know the finance if you're going to go into any business that's either producing the renewables or producing the batteries or producing the oil and gas. You have to have the finance side. And then the engineering, of course, is the mechanics of how all that is done. And have all three together, we're the only university that does that. So yes, energy is a center, and it is in the strategic plans of the University of Texas. It's one of the focal points. So that's why what we do is so related to the energy priorities that we have. And then let me just finish on the first part of your question, which is, how did UT affect me? UT it's one of the top, well, it depends on which area you're in, but the top 5 public universities in America, the top 10 in some of the top public universities in America. We are a research institution. We're a tier 1. We are in the American Academy of Colleges and Universities. We are the best. I grew up in a town of 15,000. So did so many of the students who go here. Look what I've been able to do. Why? Because I went to the University of Texas. If I'd gone to Harvard or Stanford or Oklahoma, would I be here today? I wouldn't. Because I can relate to all the people of Texas, because I've experienced going to school with people from rural areas, mid-sized cities, big cities, but it was what I got at the University of Texas that allowed me to meet all of these other young people that in my hometown of Lamarck, I would never have had access to, or the thoughts processes, or the courses, or all of the outside clubs and organizations and the energy fellowships and all these things that we do here that gives you the chance to go out and do amazing things which you wouldn't have gotten any other place. And that's why I am giving back. I'm trying to give back to this university, because I know I wouldn't be what I've been able to be without having gone here. And I remember the day I walked on this campus and I looked at this university and I said, this university is bigger than my hometown. And now my parents had graduated from here. I was very lucky, of course, that we had a tradition, and my parents, made sure that this was part of what I did. They gave me choices. It wasn't like they said, well, I'll only pay for it if you go to the University of Texas, which some of my friends had told to them. But they gave me choices, but I looked at a few other schools and I said, no, then, this is where I'm home. And that's what we do. And Rex Tillerson, who was the first winner of our Lifetime Achievement Award as CEO of ExxonMobil, who was Secretary of State when we gave him the award when he was CEO of Exxon, and then he accepted by video from being Secretary of State of America. But he said, I, Rex Tillerson, am what the University of Texas made of a B student from Huntsville, Texas. Yeah, I mean, that's what we do. And I was over with Mari, looking at the Hall of Honor of the Business School. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's the business elites of America. It's not just Texas, it's the CEOs of major corporations all over America. And they were produced at the University of Texas. So you all are having a great opportunity. Just learn all you can, meet all of the students that you can, join the organizations that you can, and you're gonna have just a wonderful opportunity to move in whatever direction you want. And you're doing it already because you're one of our energy student leaders and you were interested enough to do it.
Senator Hutchison, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us, and thank you so much for your unflinching commitment to the University of Texas.